Hello, I'm TMN, and welcome to this week's movie review. Well, if you've been keeping track of my videos, and trust me, I know you have, then you may recall that last week I reviewed the 1972 masterpiece, The Godfather. And judging by my overall opinion of that film, you can probably gather a pretty good hypothesis of what I'm going to think of today's movie. The Godfather Part 2 is the 1974 sequel to The Godfather, which continues the story of Michael Corleone as he struggles to maintain the role of Don in the Corleone family in the late 20th century. This film also serves as somewhat of a prequel, as we also get to see the life of young Vito Corleone, now played by Robert De Niro, as he grows up in the early 20th century. Now, similar to the first Godfather being on top of a lot of people's lists of best film of all time, The Godfather Part 2 does have a similar attribute to its name. Namely that a lot of people call it one of the best sequels of all time. Do I agree with this? I mean, first of all, let's get one thing completely straight. In order to have a good sequel, you have to continue the story. Something a lot of sequels don't really do. Hangover! And admittedly, The Godfather Part 2 does do this very well. It does in fact continue telling the same story by building on its previous character arcs, as well as expanding the world that we've come to know and, in some cases, love. But given my overall opinion of the mafia genre, you probably already know what I'm going to think of this movie. Now, unlike the first Godfather, I have actually not seen Part 2 more than once. Therefore, I don't really have that it gets better the second time vibe to go off on. I mean, let's be honest, I may benefit very well from watching this movie a second time. But considering that this movie is even longer than the first one, do I even want to? I mean, based on my reaction to watching this film the first time, which was quite a few years ago, I don't really imagine my overall opinion changing that much. To me, the film's biggest flaw is its status as a prequel and a sequel. For the most part, the sequel side of the story, the side of Michael Corleone, does play along interestingly enough, and I found myself enjoying it for the most part. But I swear, whenever it would cut back to the story of young Vito, I was just bored the whole time. It's as if the film were being played on TV, and every flashback of young Vito Corleone was like the commercial break. As you may know, Robert De Niro did win an Oscar for his role as young Vito Corleone, making this character the only role to win the Best Actor Oscar by two different actors. But despite the good performances, I still think this film could have benefited from just completely cutting out the prequel aspect of it and just focusing on the continuing story of Michael Corleone. Now granted, similar to the first film, I really have no idea what was going on half the time in Godfather Part 2. Seriously, where is my brain when I watch mafia movies? It's like any other movie, I'm invested in the dialogue and I can understand what's going on. Watching The Godfather, on the other hand,
okay, so if we murder Signor Tortellini, all of his savings will go to his dogs. And
what are you talking about? Anyways, all I really remember about The Godfather Part 2 is that Michael got mad at his wife a lot. He got mad at Frito a lot. And he got mad at his sister a lot. And there were like attempts on his life and his children, and that's about it. Again, I probably would benefit from a second watching. Maybe I'll understand it more, I don't know. But overall, I'm not really sure what I can add to this review that I haven't really already said about the first Godfather. I mean, usually when I watch movies that people say are good, I usually try to watch them and understand why people like them so much. Therefore, when I watch films like The Godfather Part 2, I can go into this review somewhat understanding why people think it's so good, while also harboring my somewhat disinterested ideas towards it. I mean, yeah, is the writing good? Yeah. Does it have good storytelling and acting? Yeah, the performances are all top-notch by everyone in it. Is the soundtrack so good? Honestly, I like this music for this one better than the first one. But let's be real here for a second. When it all comes down to it, we just want to watch movies to be entertained. It's really simple. You either like a movie, or you don't like a movie. Did I enjoy the overall experience of watching The Godfather Part 2? I mean, not really, but does that make it a bad film? Well, not necessarily. Your film could have the best actors, be written by the most talented screenwriters, be scored by a very famous composer, and be shot by a world-renowned cinematographer, as well as being directed by some really famous director. And that still doesn't mean that every person who views it is going to walk away from the theaters being like, wow, that film was amazing. So yeah, it's not so much to say that The Godfather Part 2 or The Godfather Part 1 are bad films. But when it simply comes down to whether or not I enjoyed watching them, let's just dumb it down to a simple no. Well guys, thanks for watching this week's review. Be sure to tune in next week for my review of The Godfather Part 3. And for those of you who have been cheating and looking ahead to see what films come next on the Top 250, you may notice that The Godfather Part 3 is actually not on the Top 250, nor is it the next film. But I figured, considering that The Godfather Part 3 is the third and final film in the trilogy, I figured you might as well just finish it off, get it over with. So that review will be coming next week. Please look forward to that. Also, please be sure to leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts on the film. Leave a like on this video. Share this video with your friends and family. Make sure to hit that little bell icon to be notified whenever I post. And as always, subscribe. I'm TMN, and until next time.